If you were never hit. If no one yelled at you every day. If your childhood was normal. But today you feel tired, anxious, or empty without knowing why. This can explain a lot. Not all trauma is visible. And it wasn't your fault. When we hear the word trauma, we think of abuse, violence, or extreme events. And then many people say, "That didn't happen to me." But the most common childhood trauma isn't the most obvious. It's the one no one saw. The one that was silent. Maybe you grew up in a functional home. With food. With school. With rules. But not with emotional safety. And that doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. What is invisible childhood trauma? Invisible childhood trauma isn't caused by what happened, but by what was missing. There was a lack of support. There was a lack of validation. There was a lack of feeling that your emotions mattered. How it's formed without abuse. A child doesn't need to be hit to become alert. It's enough to grow up in an environment where you had to mature quickly. There was no space to feel. Affection was conditional. Making mistakes wasn't safe. The child's nervous system learned something very simple. It's not safe to be me. What happens in the body? The body learns to survive, not to feel safe. And that child becomes an adult who overthinks, demands too much of themselves, has trouble resting, disconnects from their feelings, functions, but doesn't enjoy it. That's not a character flaw. It's an adaptation. Maybe no one hurt you. But no one held you when you needed it either. And that leaves a mark. Not because you're fragile, but because you were a child. Understanding this isn't about blaming anyone. It's about stopping blaming yourself. Healing doesn't begin by forcing changes. It begins by understanding how you got here. And that is already an act of self-care. If this video put words to something you've always felt, this channel is for you. Here we talk about trauma calmly, without judgment and without false promises. Subscribe if you want to follow this process at your own pace. You don't have to do everything today. Clarity also heals. And that's where we begin.